Another day got lost. Scrolling, trying to make sense of this world that I'm in. Is a fake one, no. Wake up feeling like same old.
What's happening, people? And welcome to part 4. This is the three-headed eagle, the empires past to present. Now, why are we looking at this prophecy? Because, again, we're going to see some really, really strong links with Revelation. I think that these three-headed eagles can be fit into the timeline of the book of Revelation as well, which is what we're going to do later on. So, three-headed eagle. This is a prophecy, and it's a chronological revelation of these empires that we're going to look at. Second Esdras, interpreted through Revelation and Daniel. Then I saw a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle which had 12 wing feathers and 3 heads. So, a lot of text there, but we're going to paraphrase certain parts. So, the eagle rises from the sea. This is just like the Daniel's 4 beasts coming from the stormy waters, symbolizing the chaotic Gentile nations and the world empires. Obviously, one body, 12 feathers. This is the description of the eagle. And then this represents that unified dominion, so to speak. This is one body, like when we say the body of Yahushua. And this is exactly the same as, looking at the 4th beast. And then there's also 12 feathers that correspond with the 12 Caesars who rule successfully. Remember, we were looking at Rome and how Rome is so intimately connected. Well, funny enough, there was also 12 Caesars. Now, this isn't just like a coincidental link, so to speak, but these 12 Caesars successfully rule one after the other. So it kind of makes this vision a direct parallel to the rise of Rome's imperial foundation. Remember, Rome, Edom, which becomes, those end-time nations, so to speak. So the first one was Julius Caesar. Apologies if I butcher anyone's name. Second is Augustus. Third is Tiberius. 4 is Caligula. 5 is Claudius. 6 is Nero. 7 is Galba. 8 is Otho. 9 is Vitellius. 10 is Vespasian, 11 is Titus, and 12 is Domitian. Yeah, all right, cool. Let's get it. So the historical sequence of the feathers mirrors real Roman history from Julius through to domination. 12 emperors who established and consolidated the kingdom, or the Iron Kingdom that Daniel foresaw. Now, the 3 heads at rest, and this is a really, really important part of this, and the 3 heads at rest represent powers reserved for the final world of rule, so to speak. Their sleep signifies that these last 3 dominions are held back by Yahuwah until the appointed time, when the end of the age conflict unfolds. Now, only in the latter days do the heads awaken, contend, and devour one another, showing that the final global powers arise together, not sequentially. So it's not going to be like one after the other, so to speak. Like this empire goes, then this empire comes back, this empire goes, and this empire is sort of there. It's kind of like the iron legs of Daniel. There's certain gaps as well. So even with this, you're not looking at the eagle heads like, okay, the 12 happened, then the 3 heads arise. It doesn't happen like that. It happens over time. So then you probably find gaps. Anyway, this aligns with Daniel's vision of the last kingdom being divided simultaneously, and with Revelation's picture of the end time blocks forming just before the Messiah's return. 12 feathers. So obviously small wings, heads, transitions symbolize Rome's long afterlife, the Eastern and Western splits, Byzantium, the Papal and the Holy Roman systems, the European colonizing empires, all extensions of the same Roman body whose iron influence never disappears. The 3 heads at rest obviously correspond prophetically with today's global power blocks. So the right head, I really want us to look at this very closely. The right head. The head on the right is the Eurasian BRICS coalition. So basically all the Eastern nations, so to speak, right? Yeah. And the ones that are aligned geopolitically with them. Rising in resistance to Western control. All right. The left head is, the one that we know, NATO, EU, Western Bloc. This is Rome's cultural and political descendants. The middle head, the larger and ruling the others, again, strong match, Mystery Babylon, America, a dominant superpower, the seat of the modern system linked with Mystery Babylon. Ezra's vision described the middle head as being the head that governs the earth, and it's eventually judged. which is just like Babylon's prophetic, end time situation. The wings rising briefly, then vanishing, match Esdras' statement of some wings that stood up but shortly appeared no more. A perfect reflection of short-lived rulers, collapsing empires, and other, geopolitical transitions from Rome and to its successors. So looking at all of this, we can see that the Gentile dominion follows a pattern of rise, pride, collapse, yet the Most High controls each stage. The Most High is still in control of each stage until the Son of Man destroys this world system and establishes the everlasting kingdom. Let's look at these three heads. And I beheld, and lo, three heads rested, one on the right side, one on the left side, one in the midst. 2 Esdras 11, verse 22. The three heads appear after a sequence of wings. These are the 12 Caesars we spoke about earlier. And again, just do some history. We don't have to really dive into that. We want to look at the end times. Showing the final tridivision of global, this is the three heads, authority at the end of the age. So the middle head represents the heart of the modern empire, the center of commerce, the culture that rules over the kings of the earth. It's basically Mystery Babylon, the woman that sitteth upon many waters. This is the core of the Western system. Military might, economic dominance, spiritual corruption. You can find it all in Babylon. The left head is, the Roman lineage, the Western pillar, them guys there, the NATOs, the EUs. The right head is the Eastern Eurasian powers rising in coalition linked to the 10 horns, right? And it's going to make sense. These nations gained power 1 hour with the beast standing as the last configuration of Gentile dominion when the Messiah appears. Each head watches while the others contend. When the judgment of Yah falls, the middle head, Babylon's heart, is destroyed first, consumed in sudden fire. Ezra writes, I saw that the head in the mist was destroyed, for the earth was greatly afraid. John echoes the same moment. In 1 hour thy judgment has come. And doesn't the whole world get afraid when Babylon is destroyed? I mean, if America got destroyed today, I'd definitely be afraid. Anyway, this corresponds with the fourth seal, when death and hell follow the pale horse. It's very peculiar. You got death and hell coming down. I wonder why, because it's probably mass destruction. Death just thought, you know what? I might as well pop out today. Anyway, a symbol of mass destruction, famine, plague that bring Babylon's dominion to ashes. The final two feathers. So in this whole eagle empire, there's also, two little feathers that come at the end. Interesting. What can we link those two feathers to? Behold, two feathers rose up on the right side, and they sought to reign also. Okay. After the middle head falls, two small feathers rise. They rule briefly and vanish, signifying the two final rulers of darkness foretold in Revelation, the beast and the false prophet. The beast represents a revived political military leader, a little horn, who subdues three from the right side coalition, 10 horns. A false prophet is his ideological partner, performing signs to sustain the empire's worship and obedience. Now, again, there's many false prophets, of course. Yeah, I believe you're going to have them dudes dressed in robes doing whatever it is, all kinds of craziness. But I also believe that there is the false prophet, and the false prophet who has the power to give life to the image of beast. If he's got that kind of power, then he's probably a technological type of guy. It's really that simple, because if you think about it, he's got power to give life to the image of beast. So again, I don't really see the image of the beast being some kind of, I think we're all safe to say that it's probably going to be some, ultimate intelligence or whatever. So even from that perspective, I think, he's going to be a technocrat, like the main false prophet. And then, the other ones is going to be the other people that you see, because the sixth seal has gone off. Anyway, so now their rise follows the collapse of Babylon and the rearrangement of power among the horns. Their rule is short. So again, 1 hour with the beast, just like the 10 horns. Their end is certain. The beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, and they were cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. No judgment day for them. Just straight lake of fire. It's done and dusted there. We don't need to talk about it. Ezra's image of the eagle's body burning confirms the same finale. Human dominion consumed at the brightness of the Messiah's coming. And I hope you're taking all these scriptures down. the eagle seen chronologically through the seals and the trumpets. So this is where we just overlay this eagle and its timeline, so to speak, because there's some key events that we can look at and link to the seals. So the first three seals, the heads are awake today and already established geopolitically. The heads are no longer at rest. They've been active, building up to the position that they're in for this end time conquest, the warfare, the economic control, matching the white, red, and black horses with these wars that come about. At this stage, sudden destruction of the middle head awaits. So the fourth seal, the destruction of the middle head, the fall of the middle head, the collapse of the central authority. The destruction of the middle head represents Babylon's collapse, clearing the field for the gradual collapse of the left head at the hand of the right hand side, the 10 horns. Who gains supremacy? So we see that the middle head all of a sudden disappears. That again corresponds with the destruction of Babylon. That corresponds with the fourth seal. When we look at all those aspects, we know that, okay, it's not just going to be a war where one country gets destroyed and that's it. There's going to be, multiple things happening. So we see that this head on the right side, which is obviously the eastern bloc, so to speak, will devour the head on the left side, which is obviously the Western nation. So again, probably through war, not just there at the fourth seal, but gradually as you go along. So the left side's descent and the right side's dominion. Under the pale horse, obviously the crisis of death weakened the center of the empire, which is Babylon. And from this point, the left head also suffers the destruction of its greatest defense, Babylon, while the right head, symbolized by the 10 horns, rises to political dominion. The fifth seal. Those slain during this turmoil, the destruction of Babylon, the other nations rising against the right head, cry out for justice. So all the people that are basically collateral damage, so to speak, cry out for justice and are given white robes. Again, probably a lot of people would be looking at this and going, oh, the fifth seal just seems like something happening in the background. But I think that the fifth seal is the fifth seal because of the amount of people that die during, the setting off of nukes. So, looking at the fourth and fifth seal, I don't necessarily think there's too much time between them. But yeah, you get the drift. And obviously it's an ongoing thing as well. People will just be continuously getting white robes, being told that just wait a little while, just wait a little while, just wait a little while. Maybe they were dying and going somewhere before, but at that point, when the fifth seal comes, it's white robes time. And I'm going to show you more of that. Sixth seal, unleashing the final feathers. Obviously, these are the final two feathers that we spoke of. The casting down of Satan and global upheaval coincide with the emergence of the final two feathers, the beast and the false prophet, who align with the right head's remaining forces. Empowered by Satan, and this is again the thesis as well, the remnant of Babylon, the little horn, returns and destroys wonderfully. 3 horns fall to the little horn, marking the consolidation of the Antichrist's power over the left-hand side, eventually leading to a temporary global peace deal. I'll show you that peace deal somewhere. And then more importantly, and again, this peace deal is not, the same peace deal. We're not talking about the same peace deal that's going on in the Middle East. At that point, there's no more, Israel politics. There's been the fourth seal. We're at the sixth seal now. This one is a genuine peace deal. Like, please stop destroying wonderfully. Yeah. So they reign together. So looking at the seventh seal, we'll be looking at silence in heaven before the judgment. This is where the 2 witnesses and the 144,000 are sealed before their 1,260-day mission begins. During this time, trumpet judgments obviously are falling, and we know that they don't fall just before until they're sealed. The right head is obviously weakened, and desperate nations align with the little horn because the little horn will probably have all that power coming from Satan and solutions to some of these problems. And obviously the mark of the beast, of course. So when we look at it from that perspective, we look at trumpets 1 to 4, which is obviously the environmental and the cosmic judgments, shaking the nations, and more importantly as well, the horns and the little horn are in power. And I can imagine nations are being devastated at this point. They need resources. The fifth trumpet is obviously very, very important because as we've elaborated before, when the fifth trumpet arrives and you don't have that seal, you're going to end up in pain. And that type of pain where you can't die, you can't sleep, you can't do nothing. Some people can't even last a few minutes in pain. So never mind that type of pain, the sting of a scorpion. For 5 months, you're gonna need something to ease the pain. You can't even off yourself at that time. So you're probably going to take the mark. It's literally going to be seal of Yah or mark of the beast, mark of Yah or mark of the beast when the fifth trumpet comes. And Napoleon will be the first seal leader. Anyway, demonic torment for the unsealed nations means that obviously people have to submit their power to the little horn and give him full authority to the image made by the false prophet and the mark of the beast, of course. The sixth trumpet is obviously the war and the death and resurrection of the two witnesses. The sixth trumpet brings spiritual power that attacks from the Euphrates, and 144,000, and the two witnesses are killed, but are resurrected at the seventh trumpet. Armageddon, the end of the final feathers. The beast and the false prophet, the two last feathers, are cast down. The reign of the Lion of Judah begins. So, when we look at the 10 horns that remain until the Messiah returns, Ezra records that the right head and its feathers endure until the arrival of the Messiah. Again, if you weren't believing that these are the 10 horns, then surely that must be confirmation. We know that Revelation shares the same imagery, but let's just go through it step by step. So 2nd Esdras, and where thou sawest the right head devoured the one that was in the midst. This is the interpretation. Those which remain until the end shall the highest come and deliver. So those ones that remain until the end. So obviously we know that the right head is still there. That one is the one that the Most High is going to come and deliver, right? Including those two feathers, of course. Then more importantly, this corresponds with Revelation 17:12-14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, when it's talking about the 10-horned alliance and the final Eastern coalitions, obviously linking up with the beast, of course, and all the other nations that have now joined that order, so to speak, or submitted to it. In this whole situation, obviously Christ returns, proving that the eagle's body represents the complete age of the Gentile rules, of course. So all of this isn't just about, oh yeah, good and evil and stuff. Genuinely speaking, there's some serious stuff about the nations going on here. Yahushua is coming to judge the nations. And when you look at it from that perspective, the scriptures say, pray for the sins of your fathers, because, your grandpas or your great-great-great-great-grandpas might have done some bookiness that the Most High is coming to judge. But anyway, Battle of Armageddon. Moving on. So the lion's rebuke and the end of the eagle. And I beheld, and lo, a roaring lion came out of the wood, and I saw that he spoke to the eagle, saying, and I wonder who the lion is, thou hast reigned long enough, for the Most High hath looked upon thy proud works. Proud works. The lion symbolizes the lion of the tribe of Judah. His voice rebukes the arrogance of the nations. More importantly, his voice, the word of Yahuwah. When you look at 2nd Esdras in that battle, it's his mouth that's making all the destruction happen. So this voice rebuking is a lot more. Anyway, announcing the end of human empire. The eagle burns its wings, vanish, and it perishes. The kingdom of this world collapse as divine judgment is established from Zion. So, when we just look at some parallels from the Apocrypha and Dead Sea Scrolls, a couple of things. The Kittim, which is the name of a Western oppressor. Some people do obviously reference that to the Antichrist, of course. And then 2nd Baruch, chapter 39, verses 5-8, foresee the final downfall of the last stronghold of the fourth beast when the anointed one arises. So again, another link to show you that the 10 horns are there when the destruction comes, and that 10 horns being the right head, of course. These mirror obviously Ezra's vision, the eagle's burning body, as the final beast is consumed as well. So the conclusion, once again, cycle of empires fulfilled. From Babylon's golden head to the digital empire of the last days, the eagle's lifespan, it spans the whole history of Gentile dominion. The fall of its middle head marks the collapse of Mystery Babylon. The brief reign of its final feathers reveals the beast and the false prophet, and the lion's roar proclaims the end of all earthly rule. Just to sort of expound on that a little bit, the end of everything in terms of obviously sort of this Gentile dominion rule or mystery Babylon's influence, a lot of people ain't going to be prepared for that. I don't think even the world can fathom sometimes that, all these smartphones and sort of like the technological age that we're living in, at some point there's going to come a time where, some of that stuff will not even be looked at as important. It's crazy. It's crazy because we've become so desensitized, and I don't really want to do a speech or anything like that. But the reality is, when these things happen, it would be very, very interesting to see how most people react. Because again, a lot of people are expecting a rapture. I haven't mentioned no rapture in this so far. And again, what would that do to a Christian? The fourth seal comes, mystery Babylon is destroyed. You were waiting for a rapture. Ain't no rapture coming. Instead, you see loads of people dying, 10 horns taken over. Satan falls from earth at the sixth seal. If he deceived you before the rapture, then you're easy pickings. When the scripture talks about they shall believe the lie, the strong delusion. And then I also think as well, is that the falling away being talked about? Not just the falling away of the stars from heaven, but is that the falling away when they, speak of people falling away from the faith? Because again, you've just seen all this destruction. There's been no biblical prophecy happen. You've probably seen Israel get destroyed. Then you've seen America get destroyed. Then you've seen the whole West get destroyed. Then you see people getting taken into captivity. Your faith or finding the Most High will be very difficult at that time. So I can also understand why the 144,000 are brought in. Because even with those powers, I'm pretty sure they won't just be preaching. I'm pretty sure they'll be helping out a little bit when it comes to certain captives. So it's really, really important to look at this from the perspective of, how would you react if all of this stuff started happening? Sorry, not if, but when all of this stuff starts happening. I'd love to say none of this stuff is going to happen, but if the Bible says it and it really tries to warn you about it, this whole world that we're living in has completely desensitized us. We're not the same people that probably would have been more vigilant without all the media, without all the films and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So again, I just hope that I'm one of those people, and I'm sure there will be a few of them, that we can just see the signs to the point where it's like, let's go now or whatever. But the reality is as well, you can't just leave if you don't have a plan. At the same time, I believe Most High, will make a way when he needs to make a way and etc. But genuinely speaking, some of us are going to have to be running for our lives. If you can get out early and if, some reparations or whatever, the government comes to their senses and decide that everyone can go back to their own land and blah, 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 then I'll take that deal, bro. I'll take that deal and run. Even if they offer you 16 houses where you live, bro. Take that deal and go. Flee. Because, this stuff is real. People throughout history did go into captivity. People were killed for no reason. And just because you see it in the news and there's wars and rumors of wars, don't think that it ain't going to happen to you. So, stay vigilant. And at the end of the day, always remember that them white robes is coming. And more importantly, the kingdom shall be Yahuwah's. So, the vision of the eagle, Obadiah also references this eagle as well. But the vision of the eagle therefore stands as the complete prophetic chronicle of man's ambition and God's justice. A timeline of empire concluding in redemption and the eternal reign of the Mashiach, the Messiah. Any questions, hit me up. But let's get it. Next up, we're going to be looking at the 7 seals, specifically breaking those down. Thank you.